Okay. All right. So we're recording. And so the first question I had is if you're allowed to use your own calculator on the exam. And yeah, I'm not going to restrict that. As I mentioned in the YouTube video, I don't know, hopefully if you haven't watched it, watch it because it kind of walks you through all the steps of how to get it set up. But the lockdown browser, it will have two windows. Actually, the very first question of the exam will have two links for you. And so click on the links, and then it will open up separate windows. And then you're not allowed to open up any other windows. But one of the windows will be the periodic table. And you can use your own periodic table if you want to. Um, but I think it'll be much more convenient to just have it on, tabs, and so you can go in between your tabs pretty easily. So click on the periodic table one, or click on the scientific calculator one. Okay, and then you can go back and forth between that and the exam. Um, and then the other question I had is if you can use scrap paper, and yes, you can. Okay, so it shouldn't flag you. If you're looking down, and working, uh, writing the questions, etc. It shouldn't flag you that way. It would only flag, I think, is if you lose, if you move out of the view of the webcam totally. So you should be fine with that. Okay, so there'll be 30 questions, and I've set it up that you'll have an hour and a half to do it, so you should have plenty of time. What's really important though is that once you start the exam, you have to finish it. So it's not like the practice midterms that you start it, you can save and then come back to it. You have to complete it during that time. Um, so keep that in mind. Give yourself an hour and a half block, and then start it during that time period. You don't have to take it at 11 o'clock tomorrow, too. So I'm going to not have a WebEx lecture tomorrow at 11, just in case, this is the time that works best for you. So, you're welcome to take it at that time. But it will be available, I think, as of midnight tonight. It'll open up, and you'll have 24 hours. So from midnight tonight until 11:59 tomorrow, you can take the exam anytime in that period. Okay. So any questions about, like, what does it cover, or anything else, like technical problems?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm gonna do this on my desktop, and I don't have a desktop webcam. Is this still gonna work?
Um, that will not. Hmm. I wonder, are you able to, I don't know, Walmart or something that's still open until, I think, as we're speaking, I think the governor is announcing stay at home
Right.
laws or something, but I think that would take effect like midnight tonight. So
Mhm.
are you able to get a cheap webcam today?
Well, I was just preferring to do it on my PC, but I do have my laptop that has a webcam, so
Okay,
I was
yeah.
just asking if it'll work. But yeah.
Yeah, you will. Unfortunately, it won't allow you to get to the exam until it does its little check with the webcam and all that. So
Okay, sounds good.
okay,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah, one that somebody sent via text is if it's on chapters 3, 4, and 5. It's actually just on chapters 3 and 4. So none of this, we were talking about quantum numbers, uh, orbitals, all that stuff is not on the exam. So the last part of it, what is the last part? I guess it would be like moles, grams, limiting reagents, all that stuff, and then solubility. So I guess the things to memorize for the exam are the solubility rules, and so I won't provide any of those. So remember that, um, for instance, all group 1 salts and ammonium NH4 plus, all of those salts are soluble. Um, what else? All nitrates are soluble. Most of the sulfides are insoluble, except there's some exceptions, and the exceptions are like group 1, those ones. Other things, like most lead compounds are insoluble, except if they're nitrates. And so, look through those rules. The questions I tend to ask are pretty straightforward examples. They won't be these exotic salts. Okay, they'll be, ones that are pretty obvious. Okay, so that would be something to memorize. I will. I think the questions I've chosen, and I'll double check this just to make sure, but I'll give you Avogadro's number just in case you forget. But after doing a lot of questions, I think you already probably know anyway. And then the periodic table, you'll be able to get the atomic masses from that. Um, yeah, so the big topics are going to be empirical formulae, grams, moles, number of something, to go in between all those. Um, balancing equations, limiting reagents. There'll be a couple questions on limiting reagents. And then, oh yeah, so the last topic is redox, right? So there'll be one balancing redox question and one activity series question. And then, whether something is a oxidation, oxidation or reduction, or a oxidizing agent or reducing agent, those questions. Somebody just sent a text. There are 30 questions in total, and you'll have an hour and a half to do it. Okay, so any other questions? Oh, that one disappeared. Let me go to the chat thing. How do we set up the lockdown browser for tests? Okay. Oh yeah, let me go through other questions here. Can we not use our own paper to do work? Yes, so you can use your own paper to work out the questions. Yeah, you can use a calculator and scratch paper. It only covers lectures 3 and 4, not 5. Yeah, I think I covered, what is on. How many questions? 30. Oh, questions? Yeah, what was that? Oh, big picture of molecules like Alex. Oh, for limiting reagent questions, yeah, it might be a visual type of question, where you've got, a picture of so many molecules reactant and then so many product molecules, and then looking for, which ones are left over. So it could be a graphical or a visual kind of one, or it could be an actual question that you have to work out. Yeah, if you're having on what we have to avoid in the webcam, yeah, I think so. With the webcam, if you go out of the view of the webcam, then it will flag you. If you're looking down, it shouldn't flag you. Yeah, and even if it flags you, I might get a email or something like that, but I'm not going to have time to go through 110 times an hour and a half of video. And so, I'm only going to choose ones that it's, if you've left the screen or something like that. Okay. A recorded eye movement. Yeah, this one, I don't believe it is tracking eye movement. So I don't think it is going to be that picky. I hope not, actually, because yeah, this is an exam you're going to be writing. You're going to be looking down to write. So um, yeah, so it should work just fine. Any movement is wrong. Yeah, I hope not. Um, did so? Let me ask you this: if when you yeah when you logged in and did that one question, um, did did anybody like kind of move around a little and if you did it flag you? Because I kind of moved around when I did it and it didn't do anything, so I think it should be fine. You omitted the camera feature. Yeah, I thought of omitting the camera feature, but it is a large class, and I want to make sure it's you taking the exam, not your roommate or you know uh, father who might have a PhD in chemistry or something. So not that I don't trust you, but um, yeah, it does flag your eye movement. Yeah, I'll give it a try again today, just with that one question, and see what happens with it. But I don't think it'll kick you out of the exam. It might flag it somewhere, and I don't know where that goes. It'll probably send me an email or something with that. Um, but you should still be able to finish the exam, even if it flags you. This is all new to me too, so um, you'll be given the score right away, which is nice. And so, yeah, you won't have to wait for any grading, so you'll know your score right away. Um, let's see. No, you do not have to memorize the activity series. Yeah, so the question will actually give you that list. Yeah.
Just a sec. I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Oh, that's my Siri. I don't know what I said. But, how many cations? Yeah. Yeah, let me go through that question here. Okay, so let me go through a question like, how many cations, one like that. Okay, so I don't crash stuff. Let me get video off. Okay. Um, okay, let me open up my tablet. Okay, there we go. Okay, so one of your questions was, something related to, let's do this. Okay, so if you have a question where you're given a salt and you're asked how many sodium plus ions are in like 5 grams of okay, so for a question like this, the how many implies that you are going to have to use Avogadro's number. Okay, and so you remember in that little kind of schematic that I showed last week in grams, between these three, you're actually going from here to here, or actually, I guess you're starting the question here. Okay, and then you have to get to moles. Okay, so you're dividing by the molar mass or molecular weight, and then you're going to multiply by Avogadro's number. Okay, and so here you would do like five.
Finally came in.
Oh.
Jesus. Yeah.
Let me see if I can meet sorry about that. Okay, so you would go like 5 grams divided by whatever the molecular weight is. Let's see, let me do a quick thing of that. So sodium is 23 times 2, 12, and then 16 times 3. So 106. Okay. Okay, so 5 divided by 106 is 0.047 moles. And then you would, what would I do? And then you multiply by Avogadro's number to give 2.8 times 10 to the 22 of this. Okay, and so that's the whole salt. If it's asking how many sodium ions, it's just asking, looking at the formula itself and then saying that there are 2, if you were to break this apart, for instance. Right, it breaks apart into 2 sodium ions, and so if you have, 2.8 times 10 to the 22 moles of just the salt, then you have twice that number of sodium ions. Okay, so yeah, there might be a question like that, may or may not be, but yeah, just look at, I guess, the ratio of what it's asking, and then, is it the same or is it different from the salt that you're given?
So if it's asking for anions, would you just multiply by 1?
Oh, excuse me? Yeah, repeat, please.
So if it's asking for anions, would you just keep everything the same?
Correct. Yeah.
This example?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if it's asking for like how many anions or how many carbonates explicitly, yeah, then it would be the same number. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me go back to the text here. Yeah, so you would multiply by 2. Yeah. Do you have to have sound on during exam? Yes, I believe so, yes. Yeah, because you have to record when you're setting up your webcam. You have to do like a 5-second record as part of it, so it does record sound as well. Yeah, if everybody can just mute your mics too today, unless you want to ask a question, of course. Yeah, it could be empirical formula from percentages could be a question, and actually I'll tell you, yes, it is a question on the exam. The process there, I don't have to know this there. The process there is, for instance, if you have, I don't know, 80% carbon and 20% hydrogen, you assume that you have 100 grams total. Okay, so then what that does is you can replace the percentages with grams. Okay, and then you divide by their atomic masses. Okay, and so that, will give you a certain number of moles for each. Okay, and then you divide by, I guess, if I want to show the steps here. So 80 divided by 12 is 6.7, and that's just 20. Okay, and so then you divide by the smaller number. Okay, so then you get C1 H3 for this. So it'd be like CH3 would be the empirical formula. Okay. Yeah, I can do one where there's excess reagent left over. Yeah. Okay. So does this make sense? So the empirical formula one? Yeah. Oh, the other question that might be asked is a empirical versus molecular formula. And so it might say that let's see. Yeah, it might say that the molar mass is 30 grams per mole. Okay, in the question. So I would have to tell you, what the molar mass of the whole compound is. And then, you go through this and you figure out that that's the empirical formula. Is this the molecular formula too? So what do you think? So you're told the molar mass is 30 grams per mole, and you figure this out, you get this as the empirical. So remember, the molecular formula divided by the empirical will be a certain integer, really. Okay, and so I guess molecular will say this, molecular mass over empirical mass, okay? And so in this case, we have 30 as a molecular mass, and the empirical mass is just, you got 12, and another 3 for hydrogen, so that's 15. Okay, so there's a difference of 2 in that, and so what that means is that you have to multiply this empirical formula by 2. So in other words, it would be like C2H6 would be the molecular. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Okay, so for you to find, so in other words, if you're not given what the molar mass of the whole compound is, you can't figure out what the molecular formula is. You can only do the empirical. Okay, but if you're given this, then you should be able to get the molecular formula. Okay, and sometimes it's the same thing. The empirical is the same as molecular. Okay, so in other words, the integer will be 1. Okay. Questions are all multiple choice, just like all the other exams. Yeah, let's do one with excess reagent left over. Do a simple reaction. And let's say 2 grams of each. Okay. So let's say for this question, you have 2 grams that are reacting, and you want to know how much water is being produced. And what is the limiting reagent? How much of the excess is left over? Actually, I'm going to mute. There we go. There we go. Just so there's no background noise. Okay, so for this question, to figure out the limiting reagent, you have to first calculate moles for each of the reactants. Okay, so, or actually the first thing you do is balance, right? So, and so balancing, let's see, you have 2 and 2. Okay. All right, so then you divide by the molar mass, and so this would be 2.02 grams per mole. Oxygen is 32 grams per mole. So we'll say that that's just 1 mole. And then 2 divided by 32 is 0.0625. Okay, so Now, how do I figure out what is the limiting reagent then? So you've got moles for each.
Wouldn't you have to divide the hydrogen gas by 2 first?
Yeah, so if you're doing apples comparison, yeah, you have 2 in front. So let's divide it by 2, and so that gives you 0.5 of a mole. And then you're going to compare that with the 0.0625, and so this is smaller. So that means this is the limiting reagent, okay? And so hydrogen is left over, okay? And so let's calculate the grams of water then. So you would use this number of moles, okay? And so since it's a 1 to 2 ratio, you have to multiply by 2, okay? And so that's 125, yeah. 125 moles. Okay, and then you multiply by 18, which is the molar mass of water. Okay, so times 18. So 2.25 grams of water is produced. Okay, and so now, what if it asked how much hydrogen is left over? For that one, the way I like to do it is to look at kind of on a ratio basis instead of that apples comparison way. I would look at it where you have 0.0625 moles of oxygen. Since it's a 1 to 2 for oxygen and hydrogen, then that means that you need 0.125 moles of hydrogen. Okay, so did everybody see that? So I just multiplied this by 2. Okay, and that gave me how much hydrogen, how many moles of hydrogen you needed. Okay, but you have 1 mole. Okay, it's not this. Okay, that's just what we did to do a ratio. It's actually this, right? So you had 2 grams, and the molar mass was 2.02. Okay, and so you have more than what you needed, right? And so just do 1 minus the 0.125. Okay, 1.125, and that's 0.875. Okay, so that's how many moles of hydrogen you have left, and then it may ask how many grams or something like that, so then you would multiply by its molar mass, 2.02. So that's 1.77 grams of hydrogen left. Okay, so yeah, so a question like that might be on there. There would only be one of those, just because it's a lot of steps, but yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so again, any limiting reagent question, I guess any question where you're given grams of both the reagents, you have to figure out which one is limiting. If you're only given one of them, then you assume the other is an excess. Okay, so you just take the one that you're given. Okay. For naming acids, let me show you the slide that you should look at. 131. Whoops. Spring. 131. Was that in, I think that's chapter 4 or 3? I think chapter 4. Yeah, so this, if I move this here, this is the slide that you should memorize. Okay, so again, those that are soluble, there are no exceptions, so it doesn't matter what these are partnered with. And then most halides are soluble except these ones. Okay, and then the way to read it, these are always insoluble except these. Okay. So that's an important slide. Yeah, there will be a question on, what are spectator ions, and then, what is the net ionic equation for something. Okay, so kind of review those topics. You should memorize the 6 strong acids. There's only 5 listed here. Which one are they forgetting? Oh, HI. Okay, so it's these ones plus HI are the strong acids. And then these are strong bases, any group 1 or group 2 hydroxide. And then if you see any other, like this, for instance, or anything with NH2 with other things, those are going to be weak bases. And you could also describe those as weak electrolytes, okay, or these as strong electrolytes, okay? So strong acids equals strong electrolytes. Where are the acids? Yeah, so for naming, these ones are pretty easy, just hydro and then whatever, iodic, fluoric, bromic, chloric. This is the slide here that you should also have a look at. Okay, so it depends on what your anion is. And so if you have nitrate, then it'll be nitric. So the 8 goes with ic. Okay, I guess down here, 8 goes with ic. And ite is then an is. Okay, so for instance, nitrite, if you remove an oxygen from an 8, then you get ite as a suffix. And then same with phosphate. Phosphite, I guess, is not on here, but that would be PO3, 3 minus. Sulfate, sulfite. Okay, so that's why it's sulfurous acid versus sulfuric. Okay, and then the prefixes get tagged along. Okay, so hypochlorite is hypochloros. Okay, so again, yeah, that's the slide to have a look at for naming acids. To submit your working page, so for instance, I guess if you want to go over your exam, and I can see kind of help you figure out where you went wrong, just take a screenshot of it, or take a picture with your phone after you take the exam. Just take a picture of your scrap paper with your phone and just send it by email. Attachment is fine. You don't have to, but if you want to go over your exam with me after, that'll help. Okay. Okay, I think, yeah, I guess the others, yeah, the chem labs, that's a really good question. So I talked with Cheryl earlier last week, and she said she was getting stuff together for the labs, but I noticed she hasn't sent anything out. So, you're not responsible for anything until she sends it out. And what she's thinking is that there'll be like a YouTube video that you watch, and then there'll be questions, related to it. So it'll be, an experiment that's being done that you watch, and then it will give you, maybe some data, just like, certain masses, etc. And then, you would answer questions, and I don't know more than that. So she was kind of scrambling, because it turns out she's actually on lockdown herself, because one of the people that she was caring for, an elderly person, he actually died, and they didn't do the test for coronavirus, but it's looking like he probably had it, and so Cheryl was around him all the time, and so yeah, so I talked with her from like across the hallway. So, but yeah, so I guess stay tuned for the lab part of it, and you would have like a week to do your report based on watching a video, etc. So yeah, we'll figure something out, and you can get that as well. But there won't be as many labs, and so really your lab grade will be averaged over fewer experiments, this semester, and it'll just have to be. So okay. Again, this is the website that you should follow. And I gave the link on an email. If you can't find it, just email me and I'll send you the link again. But if you just do a Google search for Lockdown Browser C Mitch, then it will take you right to this site. And so then, give you instructions. And so if you click on this, then it takes you to, well, you have to log in, etc. But then it'll take you how to install it on your PC or Mac. I believe actually you can install it. You can get an app and do it on your iPad too. So that is fine as well because that has a webcam as well. So that would be fine with me if you want to do it on your iPad as well. Okay. So any other questions about the exam? Help desk will not pick up. Yeah. Help desk. What is their number? IT help desk. Yeah, I guess. There it is. Yeah, so 774-3662 is their number. Or you can chat. So if you go to, what did I click on? I guess I just searched under help desk. If you just go to the CMitch website and just put in help desk here, it'll take you to this. I don't know what their hours are these days with this whole stuff. But yeah. Yeah, maybe a different browser. Actually, one person, I suggested he do this, and I don't know if it worked for this particular person, but somebody else, yeah, I had them reboot the whole computer and tried again, and it did work. So, yeah. Yeah, it should ask you the first time you use it to allow the camera permission to use as well, yeah. And so you might have to go to like your main system preferences and get into that too. But help desk will be able to walk you through all that. So the webcam test, yeah. Whoops, I didn't want to close that window. Okay, so anything else? I wanted to really make sure that everybody, chat. Everybody is where they need to be with this whole lockdown thing for tomorrow. So I guess, content-wise, any other questions?
Could you go over question 10 on the homework?
Yeah,
again?
question.
That one's pretty complicated.
Okay, let me pull that up. Okay, where is it? It's on Blackboard, I think. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about this. I should have. Yeah, actually, credit, no credit. Yeah, that I think today, I believe, is the Academic Senate meeting about this, and I think they will approve the option for credit, no credit, and I would be totally open to it for you guys. Basically, I guess I'll give more details when I hear more, but I think it boils down to if you want it, just ask me, and I'll do it for you. Obviously, if you're doing really, really well, um, it serves probably no benefit. You'd be better to get an A in the class, but if you're kind of struggling, but keeping up on everything, it probably would do a lot of good, versus getting a C or a D or something like that. You'd get credit for it, So I think it'd be a really good option. Again, I'm open for it. And so, just let me know if you want me to. Just send me an email if you want me to consider that for you. Okay, so that's class by class or choose for whole semester. I think you can choose it per class, if I'm not mistaken. So again, I don't know the details of it, but yeah, I don't think you have to do it blanket for all of your classes. Yeah. Okay, so let's go. So this. Okay, so you said question 10, Jason, right?
Yes.
Okay. Milliliters are. Oh yeah. Okay, so that one. Yeah, let me pull up the iPad here. Yeah, that was a lot. That one. Okay, so let's do the equation first. Three plus 6 sodium chloride. Okay, so you're told you have excess of this, and then you have that of 0.2, and you want to know mils, and this 2.75 grams. Okay, and percent yield is 65%. Okay. Yeah, on the actual exam, yes. Yeah, I was just about to say, there won't be anything as complicated as this on the exam. So, I don't know if in that case, do you want me to spend, I don't know, the 15 minutes or whatever to go through it again? I mean, it is, I do go through it in the video, so if you want to watch it there, but I guess the strategy here, is I would start, I guess to kind of walk you through how to do the question, is I would start with this, okay, and that you can go to moles, okay, and so once you have moles of this, then I would want to look at the ratio of this to this, okay, and so then you'd multiply by 2, and then you then have moles of this iron chloride, okay, iron 3 chloride. And so then you can figure it out based on, if you have 0.2 moles in 1,000 mils, and then, but if you have, so many moles, then how many mils is that? Okay, so then you just kind of, set up this ratio, figure out the mils that you need. Okay, and then there's this whole, 65% yield. I guess you could work it in at the end. I guess maybe the easiest way, and I think I did it this way in the video, would be to, convert this right away. That this is the amount you got, but the theoretical is going to be 65% greater than that, if we will. Okay, so you would do like this right away. So 2.75 grams divided by 0.65. Okay, and that gives you the grams theoretically, and then use that, to do all the conversions. But yeah, don't look for one as complicated as that on the actual midterm. Yeah, that was kind of, if you can do that one, then the ones on the exam will be a cakewalk, really.
Okay.
Okay. When would they announce this whole credit, no credit? I think, yeah, the Senate meeting is today, and so maybe even later today, but for sure this week. They're going to announce something about it. And I think the way it was worded in an email that the president sent to faculty was that basically he's asking the Senate to approve the credit, no credit option. And so it sounds like it's a go, really. It's just a formality. So that should give people hope. If you've been struggling, what that will mean though is, don't stop taking exams or doing Alex or whatever, because for me to give you a credit option, I'm going to see that you've completed stuff and that you know you are passing stuff, right? So if you're failing exams, if you don't take the last two exams, and you're not doing Alex anymore, that's going to influence your overall grade, and I can't give you credit for it. Okay, so, but I'm not going to expect an A, work to get credit. Okay, so just kind of pass. As long as you're passing, then you get the credit. Okay. Did I forget any other questions? I'm hoping this whole browser thing really works. Can you take if you're taking 132? Yeah, it'll be transferable. So, if you take 132 from me or someone else, you can, still apply that and get into 132. Yeah. As I understand it, it's not going to pull down your GPA, and it's not going to improve it much either. So it's not going to affect your GPA. So, don't let that detract you from taking the option. The goggles. They'll be there for you. I don't know. After this semester, how long? The question is, how long will all this crap go on, right? So, when you're back in the fall, they'll be there for you, really. If we're out the whole rest of the semester here. So if you're around in the summer, you can, come by. We'll get it. But we'll probably, as they're cleaning out the lockers this summer, they'll probably keep them all in the stock room, and so you can just get it from there. So yeah, they'll be there for you. You paid money, so you'll get those. And correct, it won't be an ACS standardized final, so it'll be my final, so I can tell you, exactly what kind of questions are going to be on the exam, and I'll also post a practice final for you again, so that'll help. But yeah, so it'll be better since it's a required exam. No, it's not going to affect you in any way. To be honest, it was always optional. I say in quotes for faculty, that we could have given our own final, but the way they gauge our teaching effectiveness is from the standardized final, which is crazy. It's just one exam. How can you gauge how effective we were by that? But so it's expected in our department that we give it. But in this case, our department totally understands, and there's no way we can give it. And so it's more, it would affect us, I guess, as we're evaluated by the dean, etc., how good teachers we are. And so, yeah, it's not going to affect you at all. Okay. So any other questions? Again, if you haven't tried to install your lockdown browser, do that today for sure, because the exam is tomorrow. And so get all the bugs out of it. That way you have access to the help desk, everything you need today to get it set up and working for you. And then yeah, just let me know by email if you're having issues or if you have any other questions. But I guess that is it for today. Lockdown will last longer than April 13th. Oh, was that what the governor said is now a lockdown till the 13th? Yeah, I haven't heard. It very well could be longer. I think she just picked that date because other states, that's what they're going with, but we really don't know much about it, so it could. Yeah. All right. Well, have a good day. Study hard, everybody. And yeah, let me know if you have any other questions by email.